And we pulled him out of the pool, tried to resuscitate him, called 911, got to the student hospital.
Hey guys, it's Donnie here, and I just want to let you know that we've recently launched a content development company, and this company helps people get social content. You know you need to put out a lot of content nowadays to get engagement out there in all your social platforms. Well, we've come up with a really cool way to help you get videos, blog posts, memes, social posters, and infographics for whatever social site you need. So check us out at successchamps.us and learn more about how you can get social content for your social media.
Support for this podcast comes from Point Blank Safety Services and Blue Family Fund. Point Blank Safety Services does safety differently. We know everyone is on a journey, and we want to make sure you get where you're going safely. Professional, trained, ready. There's really no comparison. Here's why hiring Point Blank Safety for your next project will make all the difference and save you huge amounts of stress and hassle. Point Blank Safety Services provides certified, uniformed police officers for a full suite of armed guard services. Don't leave the safety of your project to chance. If you're ready to make sure safety truly comes first for your next project, then visit us at pointblanksafety.com.
You're listening to Donnie's Success Champions, where I believe everybody is on a journey. Life is all about the stories you can tell and teach later. You're going to hear the stories of people who have overcome hardships, failures in life to find success along their journey. All right, guys, strap it in because this is going to be a hell of a freaking show. I'm bringing on Miss Bella Vasta, and man, what a powerhouse story of the tough emotional things she's been through, the things she's overcome. And then, guys, the back half of this one, we go nuts talking about, what she's doing now and everything she's into. This is a hell of an episode. Enjoy it. All right, guys, it's Donnie Boivin, and, this is going to be a fun episode. So me and Miss Bella have been sitting here talking. She's spunky. She's fun. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun on this episode. So, Miss Bella Vasta, welcome to the show, my dear. Please share your story.
Hi, Donnie. Thanks so much for having me. I guess first, I am located in hot Arizona. It is like 90 degrees here. We're going to a balloon festival. It's supposed to be cold because it's around Halloween, but it's not.
That balloon festival, just for the record, is like one of the best in the country.
Oh,
that thing's
no.
off
That's
the chart.
why we have tickets to it. But I didn't always start here, Donnie. I actually am an East Coast girl. I grew up in Boston, just a suburb north, and I moved out here when I was 16. My dad got a job transfer. He worked for KB Toys at the time. Remember that store that never really changed with the times? Yeah.
Right.
They're in the same graveyard as like Blockbuster, right? But they're the ones who moved us out here. And I moved in the middle of high school, and I hated it because I grew up in a really small town where everyone knew each other's name. Ever since preschool, I went to school with everyone, and you just can't wait to be a senior. And then I moved out here. I moved to Scottsdale, which is kind of the Beverly Hills of Arizona. It's beautiful. It's nice. You have a lot of nice things. You have to worry about crime. But at the same time, I really didn't need perfume dispensers in my high school bathroom. And I didn't really empathize with the girl next to me who would cry because she got the wrong color BMW for her birthday. So that was my high school. When high school ended, I decided to go to University of Arizona. It was 2 hours south of my parents' house. I had basically three options because my parents would not spend the money to send me back to Boston, which is where I really wanted to go. So it was NAU, Northern Arizona State, up in Flagstaff, 2 hours north. Arizona State, which, grand prize for that, I had to stay at home. Or U of A. So I went to U of A because they had the best business program. But what I didn't understand as a newly high school graduate is that my major would change multiple times. In fact, it changed so many times and it landed on human communication because, true story, it had the least amount of math classes.
I love that.
Flunked out accounting. I was transposing numbers. I was never actually really good at math. And to that effect, I actually had to take college algebra 3 times at 3 different colleges to pass it. And once I passed it, I was like, woohoo, I can move on with my life.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I never made it past pre-algebra in high school. So we share that trait. That's beautiful.
Yeah, like I just couldn't do it, like I can't tell you how many times, even in college, I sat there, I was the first child, and I also have always been very strong-willed, and I would have these like debates with my mom, like, I don't care, I'll go work at McDonald's. College is dumb. Like, I don't want to be here. This is like, I'm just learning stupid stuff that are never going to apply into the world. But God bless my parents. They knew that, we need to get you into college, and we need you to do it because that's what we're supposed to do. And that's it,
That's interesting because I'm completely the opposite of that thought process. I'm like, screw college. You don't need it unless you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Exactly. Oh my God, exactly.
Because it's not giving you any skill sets. I'd much prefer you go get a job you hate, but that will teach you a skill set than to go spend time and money sitting in a college somewhere.
Oh, 100%. And, my parents were just trying to do their best. That's what you're supposed to do, especially in 2003, 4, and 5 when I was in college. But, all throughout that, the very first tragedy I ever had in my life was part of being at U of A. I was supposed to pay for my room and board. My parents were like, fine, you want to go down there? We'll pay for your tuition, but you have to figure out how to live down there. So I was like singing and dancing at Johnny Rockets. I was working at a cell phone store. I was doing all that, like those odd jobs that you do as a college student. But the way that really got me through it was being a resident assistant, an RA. Like you're in charge of a group of people in a dorm room, or in this case, it was an apartment building. I lucked out. I got a 1-bedroom apartment for free, and then a meal stipend. Well, sophomore year, right before my finals, a gal and I, we were going to go lay out by the pool. It was at the beginning of March. So in Arizona, but just for reference, guys, that's like still 90 degrees. So we go out there, and this boy, Manuel Cruz, decided to come with us. Now, he was always sitting on the staircase, and he was always smoking cigarettes, probably at least a pack a day, and just a real funny guy, really, really funny. And so we went out to the pool, and we dared him to jump in because even though it was warm outside, the pool was still kind of cold, and he did. And then he started splashing around, and we thought he was joking, and he wasn't. And we pulled him out of the pool, tried to resuscitate him, called 911, got to the student hospital, and he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And I had all kinds of horrors and nightmares, and obviously I went straight home, but I also failed all my classes the rest of that year. And so my grand prize again, when we kind of feel like life like gives us like doors slammed in our face, and I don't mean this like against Manuel, this could sound bad. It's kind of the way you get through it that matters. So I was told I couldn't be an RA anymore. And if I couldn't be an RA, I couldn't stay down there. So I had to move back in with my parents and transfer to ASU. And when I did, my parents still thought I was in high school and wanted to give me a curfew. And I didn't want it. I had karaoke bars to go sing at, and I had dates to go on, and I had a social life, right? And I had that all in high school. So I started doing that, and I got an opportunity to go pet sit 2 white dogs. And this lady wanted to pay me $25 a night to sleep at her house with her pets. She traveled 4 days a week for work, and I was like, okay, I'll pay you. I could have my boyfriend over. I didn't have a curfew. It was great. But then what I started realizing is that people actually pay a lot of money to have their pets cared for. It totally started off on accident, and it actually grew into a 6-figure company with 10 employees over the years. So while I was doing that, I don't want to get too far ahead. I was still going to college, getting my human communication degree to like satisfy my parents, not because I really wanted it.
Right.
And I was working at Starbucks, and I was pet sitting. And when I graduated, I stayed at Starbucks because I got health insurance. Again, always being told, you need this, you need this, you need health insurance. Okay, fine. Starbucks. And I was pet sit. And I literally traveled around with like the largest suitcase full of clothes. I had club clothes, I had workout clothes, I had pet sitting clothes, I had regular clothes. And then I had a couple of bags of food, like peanut butter and jelly and potatoes.
So you had like Mary Poppins purse.
Totally was. I cannot even tell you, like my parents would be like, just let us know the dates you're going to be in home, because there were so many dates I was out of the house, right? So I was doing this, and this is also before like Facebook was really popular, before people had like business pages. It makes me sound like I'm so old. I'm only 36. But I mean, this was 15 years ago. That's how fast things have changed. So I was still at the time like posting in community newsletters. I was shaking hands and kissing doggies. I was making like, relationships with veterinarians and pet stores and all of these different people in the community. I was going to networking events because people used to do that like 4 nights a week. And I would become friends with the organizers, and the organizers would introduce me to their friends. And then I would find out, the best places to advertise, or I would get a lot of on the job free training. Like I learned how to network at a lunch and learn. I learned more about sales and closing a sale at a lunch and learn. Like these are things that we get online now, but back then I was getting them face to face and building these relationships. It was great for me because I was an outgoing extrovert. So it was fun. Anyway, so I learned a lot during that time. And 2007, and I applied for this national award given by the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters. And I won it. Like I was shocked, but I won it. And I was like, I've made it. But with that came a lot of publicity, and a lot of other pet sitters and dog walkers started calling me and saying, how can I do what you do? And what do I do about this? And asking for my advice. And what I really realized is that I loved doing it. It was like crack for me. Like I would get so excited, just the feeling that I actually helped someone out. It was a feeling like I'd actually never had in my life. And growing up, I wasn't always like validated or told that my opinions mattered all the time. So having this come back to me, I didn't realize that at the time was ridiculously fulfilling. And I wanted more of it. And I wanted more and more and more. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I wasn't going to stop. So it took a very long time for me to build this coaching thing while simultaneously I had my pet sitting company. All in my 20s, my pet sitting company kept me warm. I was still always looking for a husband. I always wanted to have a family. I always had this fairy tale picture in my head. I always wanted this thing. And this is where I get into the second major tragedy. So I always wanted a family. And I always said to myself, my goal, I've always been very goal driven. So I said, when I get a family, when I become a wife and a mom, I'm selling this pet sitting company. It's a means to an end. I see it as an asset that I'm building right now. Because of that networking, I had brokers in my life that I could talk to. And they said, Bella, you need to get out of your business. No one's going to want to buy your business if you're in it. So it was really awesome advice, because it really helped shape the way that I was growing this business without me in it, even though my name was on it. So as I was doing that and growing it, I wanted to do this coaching thing, and I was on Match.com. I think I dated almost everyone in Scottsdale, Arizona on Match.com over 6'2". And it happened to be, I got back from a conference, and my husband, my now husband, found me on Match.com. And when he did, his first message to me was, I'm not looking for my green card. I'm already a citizen. He was from Macedonia. It's a tiny country just above Greece.
Okay, and, I say, who the hell is Macedonia? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I didn't know where it was either. Tell him he's Greek, he'll get mad. But honestly, for the layman's terms, like, think Greek. Okay. And it was like one of those love at first sights. Like, and I think I deserved that after 10 years of kissing toads. So it was just
all the guys that she dated before, you just got called a toad, for the record.
Absolutely. He totally did. So, it was just it was just natural. It wasn't obsessive, but it was natural. So when you know, and when you've kissed that many toads, So we got engaged like 7 months later, and then we got married 6 months later. But the cool thing about our marriage was that we got married here in Scottsdale on January 4th. And then the following Saturday on January 11th, we went back to Macedonia and had a 200 plus person wedding. And this is like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, like the movie, like 3 or 4 rows deep of people holding hands and dancing for 12 hours. I mean, it was insane. And I think I broke down twice emotionally, because I'd never experienced this amount of love. It was like, there's this energy when you're all holding hands and you're looking at people in the eye. You're not just dancing one-on-one with one person all night. You are like physically connected to these people. And even though we couldn't speak the language, and even though I didn't know what they were singing, you could feel it. It was amazing. And it was also cool because I didn't have to plan any of it.
Even better. Yeah.
So because we were so close to Rome, that's where we went for our honeymoon. while we have the time, funny story there was that Macedonia is very small airport, and it's surrounded by mountains. So the fog came in, they canceled our Monday flight. It was supposed to be Wednesday because our honeymoon was only till Friday. My husband saved our honeymoon. We jumped in his parents' car, drove down to the tip of Greece, got on a ferry. And this ferry, I was like, ooh, I've never been on a cruise before. This could be so fun. I run up to like the girls who are checking in, like shove my ring in their face. I'm like, I just got married. Can we have a view? And they're looking at me like, you're crazy American. Just shut up. Here's your ticket. So we get on this boat and there are tractor trailers underneath in the bottom. There are like these big, burly, smoking truck drivers, you know, like just going to stay up all night on the edge of this ferry. We had a room with 2 separate beds and like a shower that was like, I don't know, 2 by 2, like actually the whole bathroom. It was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. But it didn't stop me from in the morning. We get up, we go out on the thing, and I'm like, oh, I see Italy. And I'd always wanted to go. It was amazing. It was beautiful. So we got off in Bari. I, again, was excited. So customs pulled us over, got the dogs out, took all of our luggage out. Do not ever be happy and like really smiley if you're in Europe because it's weird to them. I'm sure you have some experiences or know something about that.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't though. I was just like in bliss. So we go, we run around, we run around Rome, same route back home, back to his parents' house. 2 weeks later, we come back. We're landing in LAX. I've never thrown up on an airplane before. And I get up and I run to the bathroom, but we were on the jetway and it was locked. So I had to I puked on the airplane. I was like, what is going on? This isn't right. Well, the next day I found out I was pregnant. We conceived on our honeymoon. And then 6 months later, we had a daughter. Not 9.5, but 6. We had one of the world's smallest surviving female babies. She was only 12 ounces. Everybody told me that she would not survive. Now, I want you to remember, I'm still coaching and I also still have the 6-figure pet sitting company going at the time. And I'm going through this crisis. And I don't give a crap about any of those businesses at this point. I just want my daughter to live. I have this fairy tale in my mind and I want my daughter to live. And my prayer was grow. And it's funny because later we found out if she grew, she would have died, which she did. And it's so miraculous. She kept herself small and mighty so that the small amount of nutrients that were coming in and out of her could sustain that small body. If she grew, she would have died, you know? So she is on record as one of the 50 smallest surviving babies on the planet. She was 1 inch shorter than a Barbie doll. She was 10 inches. My wedding ring fit over her leg. And once she was born and she came out of me, everyone told us not to get attached. Do you have any kids, Donnie?
No, I do not, but that's a shitty thing to say.
It really is. It really is. It's hard because it's like, you know, you have this build up and you're like, I hope they're alive, hope they're alive. Okay, baby's out, the baby's alive, but we don't know for how long. Probably not for long at all. Don't get too attached. And you really don't know how to, I didn't understand when I was going through this. Our brains, what they do is they just take these images or these messages and they just go straight into your brain. You don't have time to process them because you're just trying to survive through it, right? And this medical stuff was for 6 months. We would go home that night thinking she had a great day, get a call in the middle of the night, they had a bagger. I don't know how many times that happened. I would be holding her with all of her leads and lines on her, and all of a sudden her numbers would just drop and they'd take her off me, push me out, call code blue, everyone would be around her. And then you're left there as a mom thinking, all I was doing was holding my baby. What did I do wrong? Yeah. It was horrible. I could tell you, there are some days when we walked in there and you can feel death. You lose all your innocence then. Like and the worst kind, and I don't know, I can't say worst kind. I haven't had experience of others other than Manuel, but walking in and knowing that an innocent, precious little baby died is like, God, what's wrong with you? You know, like you question everything. And the nurses can't really talk to you about it, but you can feel it. You know what's happening. And then you just focus on your own baby and try not to be scared and just try to be excited that your baby's still alive. On Christmas, Santa Claus came to take pictures of all the kids in the incubators. And across the row from us was 2 twins. One twin passed away 2 weeks before that. And that morning, that twin who survived was named Bella. And Bella died 2 hours before Santa came. And they still wanted pictures with Santa. And Santa and the social worker walking around with Santa, I mean, that's a hard thing. Like, let me hold a deceased baby and take a picture because that's the parent's final
wish.
You can't even comprehend it, right? And then they come over to us, to our baby who's alive, and we take pictures with our baby. And we're watching all this happen. Like, you can't comprehend it. So there were many times where I would go into the pump room because I was able to pump and get her milk and stuff. And I would just cry. And when you're in NICU, you can't be on your laptop. You can't be on your cell phone. Oh yeah, feed Fido 2 cups today. Like, who cares, right? And I'll tell you, one of my biggest things is if I don't encourage someone, like at least once a month, that to think about what happens if a catastrophe strikes, will you be able to like survive it in your business? Then I haven't done my job, you know? Like, I truly feel like if I didn't have a staff, if my business was dependent upon me, if I didn't get that awesome advice from that networker guy that said, Bella, you need to get out of your business, you need to, you know, have it run without you, I would have lost that 10 years that I was building this business. I would not have been able to sell it for 6 figures a year and a half after we got through this. So that's one part of it. So we come home 6 months later. We had her in July and we came home January 20th. We were in there for 182 days. And we come home finally. And when we come home, she's on oxygen and she has an NG tube. It's a nasal gastric tube. It's taped to her face and it goes down her nose through the back of her throat into her belly. And that's where you deliver the food because she didn't know how to eat or suckle or suck and swallow. It's actually being able to suck, breathe, and swallow uses the most amount of muscles than anything we do. And it requires the most amount of coordination. And most full-term babies come out knowing how to do that, but she didn't. And we fought those doctors for 6 months. They wanted to stick a G tube in her belly and put a vent in her airway and send her home on her like 3rd month. And we're like, no. Give her time, which is really hard to do as a parent because we don't know anything medically, right? So there's like a lot of faith that comes involved. But we come home and we now have 40 hours of nursing during the day and 40 hours of nursing at night because she was hooked up to machines. We had an oxygen concentrator in our house that had a 50-foot cord on it. So all I ever dreamed of was having a cordless baby. That NG tube I told you about, I used to have to swaddle her and shove it down her myself and then check for placement by pushing air through a syringe and with a stethoscope, listening to see if I could hear it in a certain part of her belly.
Wow.
WTF.
Right?
Like, no mom should have to do this. Now, of course, but Bella, why did you have to do that? Well, the other alternative was to take her to the ER at Phoenix Children's Hospital and wait there for hours for someone to do it and possibly expose her to whatever else other kids have there and get her sick. We also had a miracle that we never actually returned to the hospital. We held our breath for a good year because everyone said, once you leave the hospital, you'll be back. And we never returned back. I remember taking her into Walgreens one day because I ran out of diapers and I had to go. I didn't have anyone else to like help me. And I remember putting her in the stroller and saying, is this what a real mom feels like? And she was almost a year old at the time. And I also felt like I was going to get in trouble because I wasn't supposed to be doing this. You know, now personally, I can't even begin to explain to you the amount of PTSD, anxiety, and depression that I had from that. Now, obviously, if you're any moms are listening right now, y'all have probably heard of, hopefully, postpartum depression, where after you have a baby, you go through a little depression stage sometimes. It's not talked about enough. And this lasted a lot longer than that because I would have night terrors. I would have terrors of people taking her away from me. I had a lot of bad thoughts in my head, like I did this to her, or I'm not a good enough mom because why does she desat when she's on me, you know? There was a lot of terrors. And it wasn't until about 2 years out that someone had told me about EMDR therapy. Have you heard about it, Donnie?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. If anyone is listening right now and you've been through a trauma, which is a lot of people, we just don't talk about it. It has an 80% success rate. It's called eye movement desensitization restructuring. I think that's what it is. But if you go to emdr.org, you can learn about it.
Okay.
And it's administered a lot of different ways. You can butterfly hug yourself and just tap on either side. You can watch a light just move back and forth. You can hold something and it vibrates in each hand, but it's got to be a bilateral thing, a left, right, left, right, left, right. And there's a protocol. Look it up, guys. Look it up. And what it does is it extracts those thoughts and those horrors that you went through with a therapist over maybe 6 to 8 sessions, and you talk about them, and you go there and you feel it and you process it, and then you put it back into a point that you believe about it. Donnie, if I talked to you a year and a half ago, I could not have told you everything I just did without breaking down and crying, and I would have had an emotional hangover for at least a week, and I would have felt like down in the dumps, and my body would feel really heavy, and I just want to stay in bed. It is the most amazing tool to use for PTSD. And it works. It works awesome. A ridiculous amount of time. So if there's anyone out there listening, so I did that for that.
Well, just real quick on that, and I'm so glad you shared that because I do have several people that are dealing with those type of things. So thank you for that. Continue on. I'm enjoying the hell out of your story.
Awesome. Yeah, no one really actually talks about that stuff, Donnie. And I do. I talk about it all the time because nobody... Now, I do have to say, too, that I think God has a perfect timing for everything, because just like I prayed for grow, and he's like, no, I got you. Just have faith. She's not going to grow, because if he answered my prayer, she would not be here today.
Right.
The same thing with this. Like, if I had known about EMDR too early and tried it, I hadn't been through it yet and had enough distance on it. You have to get through it. Then you can start. You can't start putting a Band-Aid on a wound that you're still ripping open, right? It's got to be ripped open and started to cauterize just a bit before you start, triaging it. So that's truly what it was. And I cannot thank it enough. I'm actually back in it for some other stuff that I've experienced in life, but I'm a true believer in it. And I'm very blessed that I get to, be on a podcast like yours that is top 200 on iTunes in 73 countries. My goodness, sir, hat off to you.
Thank you, love.
That's amazing. So anyways.
So let me recap, because damn, girl, what a hell of a freaking ride. Here's what I love about this show is I get the opportunity to meet badasses like you. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. I mean, you've been through it, right? And you've come out the other end, and you already said it, but I'm a firm believer that you have to go through anything in life to become it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, most people look at life and they want to take the easy route. They want the easy button. They want the cheat codes. And what I'll tell you, man, is Rocky Balboa it. It's not about how hard you can hit, about how hard you can take a hit and keep pushing forward. Right. So good on you. Damn, that's a lot to recap. And it's an amazing freaking story.
I love what you just said about Rocky, because it's so true. And interestingly enough, and the other part of this story is what I'm doing now. And part of what I'm doing now took me to Philadelphia just 3 weeks ago. And I had a small amount of window of time to do something. And so I went to the Rocky Steps.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I did a Facebook Live from there. So if anyone wants to see it, just follow me on Facebook under Bella Vasta. And I was so inspired, because what would happen, Donnie, is that these tour buses would pull up, and these people of all different shapes, races, sizes, ages would get off this bus. Their face would change into this I can do it. And they were in platforms, flip-flops, sneakers, doesn't matter what.
With the Eye of the Tiger playing in their head, right?
So they start running up these stairs, and something really cool that I saw as a great metaphor for business is they would run up these stairs, and then there was a plateau. And then they would run up the next set of stairs, and then there was a plateau, and then they'd run up another one, and then you got to the top. And when you got to the top, everyone threw their muscles up and took a picture. And that's so indicative of our life, guys. We are just building it, and we're running up those steps, And you can choose to run them in high heels and have a really hard time doing it. You could choose to put on the sneakers and the clothes that will help get you up there faster or easier or more comfortable. But what we choose to take with us while we're climbing that is really important. And then when we get to those levels, it's okay to plateau out, because it's kind of a good chance to sit there, take a breather. Okay, this is what I did good. This is what I did wrong. I got these next steps. How am I going to do this even better? And then when we get to the top, I don't think that we ever acknowledge, we don't acknowledge enough that we get to the top, Donnie. We just kind of get to the top and we're like, okay, yeah, well, where are the next steps? It's important to celebrate it. Take a moment, be like, yeah, I did that. I did that. And let me tell you this, while I was recording this, to your point, these guys, they didn't know this other guy, but people just have this like sense of community on these steps. It was like the little kid and everyone came out. This guy goes, hey man, my internet's not working right now. Would you film me and take your phone and put it next to my phone and play the Rocky as I run up the steps? So the guy literally was running up the steps with the soundtrack going on someone else's phone. And you know what happened when he was done? The guy goes, that was so cool. Can you do that for me too?
Me too.
And I was just like, the sense of community there, the sense of like, I can do it. The inspiration and the motivation that was just like right there is just so much more of what this world needs. And it just really moved me. Like, it really moved me.
I love the whole story, but here's the biggest part that I want people to really key in on is the celebration. See, when people forget to look back and reflect on their life and go, damn, I've done all that. Yeah. And a great activity anybody should do is to sit down and take an hour and write down every success you've ever had in your life. You'll be amazed of what you've actually done and accomplished in your life. But, you know, when you don't celebrate your successes, right, you don't celebrate the wins, you actually take them into a negative state of mind because you think it's being prideful. You think it's being, you know, over the top. And in truth, it's a release.
Yeah.
You know, it's why Rocky throws his arms up at the end, right? He's like, holy shit, look what I've done. And too many people in business and life do not celebrate because I think it's prideful. And, you know, not too long ago, I closed a little bitty $1,000 deal for my company. And I mistakenly put a post out there. I'm like, well, it's a good day. I closed this $1,000 deals. And one of my fans immediately jumped on there and like, Donnie, every $1,000 stacks up. And I'm like, damn it. You know, I fell victim of my own stuff because we're all human.
But it's a great point, Donnie, that we need people in our life to remind us of that.
Yeah.
And if we don't have those people in our life to hold up the phone and play that soundtrack as we're running up the stairs, if we have the person that says, why do you want to do that? That's not that good.
Right.
We choose who we put in our life. We choose who we accept as friends on and offline. We choose what we listen to and what we surround ourselves with. And that will make all the difference in the world of helping you celebrate or not.
What I love is I want the friend that'll sit on the bench with me when I'm going through the tough times and going, you got this. Let's go. Put your head. Not the person that wants to sit on the bench, go, yeah, I get it. This sucks. Right. This is horrible. Life.
Or the one that's only there with you after you win the Super Bowl.
Right. The big lottery just went through. And one of the funniest things I heard somebody say is if you before the drawing, you should call up every one of your friends and ask for $500 because it's going to absolutely help you figure out who's going to get money after you win. Because most people are going to be like, yeah, you're not getting any of that. You know?
Oh my God. That's so funny. That's so funny. So in 2016, I decided I wanted to sell my business, the pet sitting business. And I interviewed 5 brokers, and a lot of them told me it wasn't possible for the number I wanted. And I had this one guy who actually walked out on the meeting with me to go answer a call for someone else whose listing he had. And I was like, I want that guy, you know? And he also had the most amount of confidence, and he had my business sold within 30 days for what I wanted. And he did his job, and it was amazing. And I can't explain to you the amount of relief I had, because it truly was that stage in my life where I had accomplished a goal. Once I did get married and have a kid, it wasn't that like I hated the business or whatever. It was just that season was over for me. And what I did is in 2016, I went full force with my coaching, and it has multiplied. I want to say that God's very involved in it because it's bigger than me, you know? And so I've been able to create some mastermind groups where I am still pouring into the pet sitting industry. That is mainly a lot of what I do day to day. But this past year, I've been able to really start flying around the country and keynoting and speaking and really talking to audiences. And do you remember when I said before that coaching was really validating for me?
Yep.
Because I could feel that. Well, speaking is like that for me too. I get audiences dancing and moving, and I get them, they laugh at me when they're supposed to, and they cry like when I tell my story, and they get excited. And I get these video testimonies from people saying that I'm so exciting for them or motivating, or I changed their perspective. Or I even had this one girl say, someone told me about your first session and told me that I needed to get up out of my chair, out of the session I was at, and go see you. And they would switch rooms. And it's that amount of excitement and influence that I can have on the world that is so ridiculously amazing to me. I got the coveted speaking slot for Social Media Marketing World 19 in San Diego. I'll be speaking about Facebook groups there.
Nice.
Facebook groups have tremendously helped grow my business, and I didn't even realize how much of an expert I was until I was in Lima, Ohio, telling that story. But I also love to talk about sales and how to really increase people's bottom line in a way that it's not your typical, no offense, Donnie, but male story of I was in sales and doing this.
I love it.
A completely different perspective with crazy amount of enthusiasm. I literally am usually sweating by the end of it, but it's really exciting. And I cannot tell you that if I didn't run those stairs, if I haven't gone through what I've been through, I wouldn't be able to appreciate nor have the perspective of how important it is to have these little things in place so that you can accomplish the bigger thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I love this. And I do have the typical guy's sales story, by the way.
I'm breaking that ceiling, sweetheart. I'm sorry.
No, crash through.
It's our time.
No, I freaking love it. I've got another friend, Judy Hoberman, who runs a company called Selling in a Skirt. Her book just came out not too long ago. It's called Walking on a Glass Ceiling.
Yep.
I love it. And she's been in that game forever.
Yeah.
So this is phenomenal. I love this. There is, for the record, and I love putting this out there, women outsell guys all day long.
Oh, yeah. We have 80% of the buying power, too.
Yep. And here's why. It's not looks. It's not charm. It's not anything. It's the ability to have empathy and not give a damn at the same token. It's the truth.
I love the way you put that.
Guys, when we go out and sell, we want to fix, we want to solve, we want to,
Husbands do too.
Yeah. It's where we get it from, right? But on a sales call, if you fix, you don't sell.
Yeah.
Right? So women just have this cool knack to be able to get in there, get it all mixed up, and then make themselves perfectly positioned to be the solution that person needs is an amazing ability. I hated selling against women. Right? And it's for that reason is they have that weird – I'm not a very empathetic guy. I do have it. I'm not your over-the-top ego guy like some of the big sales gurus out there that drive me up a damn wall. But I do enjoy those conversations. So good on you, because there needs to be more people in that particular arena. And the other thing I want to say is when you walk off any stage and you're exhausted, and you're whooped, and you're sweaty, everything else, that only tells me you gave it your all.
Oh, yeah. It's this heart change and this communion that you have with an audience. I see speaking as a performance in a way that you really have to it's a transition. It's the only way I can, it's like you leave feeling like I just went to church. Like it was a spiritual experience. And that's what I've gotten from my mentors. And that's what I aim to do every single time I get the privilege of being on stage, because it's also a lot of responsibility. You have 100 people in an audience. And if you're doing a 1-hour keynote, that's 1,000 hours that you're responsible for. And when people aren't sitting there looking at their phones or walking out of the room or shifting, and they are just interested in what you're saying and they're nodding their head. Oh, wow. You did it.
Yeah. The best example, and people should totally go YouTube this, there was an a cappella show on TV. One of the Boys Men guys was one of the coaches. They bring in this college choir group, right? And this guy sings this song, Take Me to Church. And this is the final round song. The littlest guy in their entire troop sings. And he's got the main powerhouse version of the song. When he's done, he drops to his knees out of pure exhaustion, head down, because he threw it all on the line, and they won the whole thing. And even the judges say after I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Even the judges after the fact are like, dude, that's one of the most powerful songs I've ever seen anybody to own as well as you just own it, you know? And, but that's life. You know, if you're not playing life to leave it all on the field, right? You're not going to take it with you. Go all in. You know, so where's all this taking you, girl? I mean, you've done some crazy things. You're blowing up the world, and you know, you're becoming a household name, which is a beautiful thing. Where's it going to take you? Where are we going to see you next?
I would love to. I mean, this is the funny thing in my life. So I feel like God doesn't reveal too much of his plan to me, because if he did, he'd mess it up. I just know that, I mean, I'll speak very candidly and personally. I am working on getting my consulting company very successful, defined by helping as many people as possible. There's a really interesting thing that's happening in the pet sitting and dog walking industry right now, where when the industry started, everyone used ICs, and they really weren't like thinking of it as a true business and having office managers and an HR person and processes and all this stuff, right? And right now what's happening is a lot of my businesses that I work with, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 600,000s, they're actually going up to the 7 figures now, because people are selling or they're acquiring and they're growing. And with that comes a whole new plateau. You know, we're done with this plateau. We're going to the next one. So I want to be able to help as many people with their mindset and match that up to what their goals are. You know, I feel like more money means you have more choices in life. And I want people to have choices. That's what it comes down to. It's not more money, everything's great. It has nothing. In fact, if someone actually thinks that, I'm worried for them, because money doesn't do that. It gives you more problems if you don't understand how to, you know, manage it all. So that's that side of it, right? But then there's like the Bella Vasta brand that I'm not really sure, but I know it involves impacting masses of people. And I know that it's going to be around sales. I know God brought me through all of this for a reason. And one of my keynotes I had the opportunity of doing is something I never would have ever experienced. And I'll leave you with this last story. In July, I got to fly to Kansas. Where was I? And I was keynoting for KVC. They are an incredible organization that helps match foster parents with foster kids. That was bigger than me. I was like being used with my gifts and talents to inspire these recruiters to be better recruiters. I was there as I don't know how to describe it. It was so much bigger than me, you know? And I really take a moment and respect for what that is. I would never have said, hey, let me speak in front of your recruiters. They saw me, they found me, and they said, yeah, we believe in you enough to come. And at the end, the CEO said, you're so great. We want you to come back and talk to our other departments. What I was essentially teaching them was like the hardest ask ever. It was, hey, Donnie, can you open up your heart and have a foster kid come in your house and then have your heart get broken, because they're eventually, hopefully, going to find their forever family. I'm asking you if I can break your heart. Like, that's a really tough thing for these people to do, not to mention they are understaffed and over-demanded and underpaid. And it's just, these are like little angels, like soldiers on the ground, just helping the enormity of the trajectory that they could change one kid's life by placing a kid and showing them that this is what love looks like. You had a little glimpse of it in your life, and what that could do to a kid's life is just beyond my comprehension. And the fact that I got a tiny little piece of that was just ridiculously honorable, I'm speechless. I think you understand what I'm saying.
Totally. That's it's beautiful. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And girl, let me tell you, fun advice from me. Keep doing that. right?
For sure.
Keep, what I think a lot of people that want to be speakers and they want to get on stages and they want to do all this stuff, their problem is they're the hero in the story and it's never them. The heroes are people sitting in the chairs out there.
Totally.
Right? It's their journey. You're just the guide, right?
100%.
So that's beautiful, girl. Keep going. Keep going. I mean, I'm really excited to be a part of your journey now. I'm excited that I got to be part of the whole storytelling mode. And at some point, I'm going to be like, Bella was on my show. Right?
I'm excited that we're connected now too. It's really cool to, like I said, you got to surround yourself with awesome people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, girl, we're going to wrap it up there. I mean, thank you so much for this story. It was awesome to have you on here. Here's how I like to wrap up every show. And I do stump some people, so get ready for this. If you were going to leave the champions who listen to this show with a quote, a saying, a phrase, a mantra, something they can carry with them on their journey, especially when they're going through it and they're stacked up against it, trying to figure out what's my move in life, what would be that quote or phrase you would say? Remember this.
Is it really not working, or is it not working this way?
Oh, I love that. That's a phenomenal freaking question. I think people don't do enough soul searching.
Yeah.
Right? They don't try and break things down and figure it out.
And we're quick to discredit stuff and say, it didn't work. It's like, you sure about that?
That's so awesome. You should get that put on a t-shirt. All right, girl. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really enjoyed this journey with you, man. Thanks for coming along for the ride.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Donnie's Success Champions podcast. If you'd like to hear more about our current guest today, or if you'd like to hear stories from our other guests on the show, come hang out with us on our website at successchampspodcast.com. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you need to reach out to me for any reason, you can catch me at Donnie@DonnieBoivin.com.